Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is FPC Radio Live. Happy June, everyone. It's the first day of June. Summer is just around the corner for those of you up in the Northeast. It's down here. It's been summer. It's year-round summer. As per our license plates, John, it says so. It's summer all year round down here in Florida. Actually, it's pouring rain right now, and it's actually kind of chilly. So not quite summer, more spring. But anyways, happy June, everyone. I'm pretty excited for it to be the 6th month of the year.
Happy June.
It's June. It's June. It's June. And you know what that brings us? The NBA Finals and, of course, the Stanley Cup Finals. Tonight, the NBA Finals gets tipped off between the Denver Nuggets and, unfortunately, the Miami Heat, as we're still trying to get over the Celtics. Really, really tough loss. Before we get into that NBA Finals, has anything changed for you the last couple of days since we last talked about the Celtics? Have you come down to a more reasonable take on what this team should do moving forward?
No, probably it's grown worse, actually, because you just keep thinking what happened in that Miami series, not showing up for the first three games, then showing up for games 4, 5, and 6. And then you get to game 7 at home with a great opportunity to create history. You lay an egg. I still think they're the better team than Miami, but they didn't play as well as the Miami Heat. And that's why the Miami Heat are playing tonight against the Denver Nuggets. It appears Joe Mazzulla is going to remain as head coach. 3 of his assistants are going to go join Ime Udoka in Houston because those 3 assistants came 2 years ago when Ime Udoka was hired here. So Joe Mazzulla is going to have to round out his coaching staff, which I think will include a couple of veteran coaches who have head coaching experience, kind of the consigliere, maybe a coach who's not interested in being a head coach down the line, although we saw what Monty Williams signed for last night with the
$13 million a year. Woo.
Yeah, that's pretty good money. I mean, that sounds more like NFL head coach money than NBA head coach money. That if you're a former coach in this league, you're probably looking for a head job somewhere because they're paying pretty well. But no, I don't think it really got any better because I still think they had opportunities to win that series, but they didn't take advantage of it. Now we've got Denver and Miami in the NBA Finals, and it's not the sexiest matchup. I mean, we're all hoping for Lakers Celtics, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it is unfortunate, obviously, from a Celtics fan perspective. Obviously, Miami fans are thrilled with it. And I'm with you. I don't think there's any good reason to move on from Joe Mazzulla other than to scapegoat him. You know what I mean? Because, was he perfect? No. I don't think anyone expected him to be. But to put this team's failures on his shoulders, when really ultimately it comes down to execution. That's really what it came down to for the Celtics. When they executed, when they did and played their game, they were hardly beat. They were hard to beat. But there was far too many times that this team just did not. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but I'm not quite sure, but they were having a lot of good looks. Let's put it that way. They had a lot of good looks, and they just weren't hitting shots. And then game 7, they were getting bad looks and just hucking shots up. So to me, that's on the players. I mean, you got to execute. You got to have patience. You got to show patience on the court. So I don't think there was anything that remotely would warrant a firing, unless John, there was just some guy out there that just all of a sudden, I mean, just it was available. You know what I mean? Greg Popovich decided he was going to leave the Spurs, wanted to come coach the Celtics. Guess what? Joe Mazzulla, take a hike. See you later. Other than that, who else would be out there that would make you say, you know what? We're going to go to our 4th head coach in 5 seasons.
Yeah, Mike Budenholzer's still available, which is surprising because he's won a championship and had a really good run in Milwaukee. Maybe he ends up in Toronto. Maybe he ends up in Phoenix. We'll see what happens with those 2 positions. Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing with Mazzulla. He was put in a very tough situation, hired 2 days before the opening of training camp. A 34-year-old assistant coach who was maybe the 4th or 5th assistant coach on the bench last year. He wasn't even sitting in the front row. It was like Bob Uecker. So he's put in a really difficult situation. And they got off to a great start. See, that's the puzzling thing, 21-5, and then they played basically 500 basketball for about a 40-game stretch, ended strong, and then did what they normally do in the playoffs, which is have these long series that go to Game 7, and at that point you're playing with fire. So yeah, I think they're just going to retain him, try to give him a support staff as far as assistant coaches that will help him grow because he's so young, and you go from there. And if it doesn't work out next year, then you got to move on. But that window, we always talk about the window. It gets closed a little bit every year because now you've got to determine if you're going to offer Jaylen Brown the super max deal, and then the following year, Jason Tatum will be eligible for that. So you're going to commit $600 million over a 5-year period to all NBA players. What do you put around them? What decisions are going to have to be made? It's going to be a very interesting 4 to 6 weeks for the Celtics. It looks to me like Mazzulla's coming back. Want to see what his staff looks like, and then you go from there with what happens with Jaylen Brown and what other moves take place during the offseason.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's much easier to make these decisions at this point if you have a championship in your back pocket. If the Celtics won one and you're like, okay, we're going to have to make some tough decisions. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it's not a terrible loss. But in this case, now the pressure's building. You have to win a championship with this team. I mean, you have a bevy of high first-round draft picks on this team. Jason Tatum, on any given night, you can argue is one of the best players in the league, but then has moments where, he just kind of disappears. And look, I mean, no one's perfect. No one's going to be great every single game. But, it's just one of those things now. It's like now these decisions become a little bit more put under a microscope because you haven't won. And you've only gone to, and I say only, you've only gone to one NBA Finals, and that's a tough thing. But anyways, let's talk about the current one. You have the Nuggets, who have been, I don't know, waiting for weeks. It seems like to play in this game, but they will be hosting Game 1 tonight. And look, I mean, I don't want to. I look at this Miami team, and this their best player, I thought, in the Eastern Conference Finals was Caleb Martin. That did not come together there during the voting for the MVP for that. But I look at Denver and I just look at it as a mismatch because who's gonna, like? Here's the thing: Bam Adebayo could not handle Robert Williams. How are they going to defend inside against Jokic?
Well, the thing about Jokic is he's such a unique player. I mean, here's a guy who could very easily lead the league in rebounds and assists. I mean, we've never seen a player quite that skilled at those two completely different skill sets, right? I think with Jokic, you single cover him, maybe goes out and gets 40 points, but the key is don't let him get 15 to 20 assists while he's doing that because you're not going to win those games. And he plays a lot more on the perimeter than necessarily in the low post. He faces the basket. Adebayo has been a good defender, but he struggled against the Celtics for whatever reason. Because Robert Williams had his way on those lobs. I don't think the Nuggets, are lobbing the ball to Jokic because he can't jump.
Well, it wasn't even just Robert Williams. He just kind of struggled in general. He didn't play to his body size. Let's put it that way. That's how I looked at it. And I look at, obviously, like you said, Jokic isn't obviously spending all his time in the paint. He's a perimeter guy. But then again, that creates another issue because, well, they don't really have anyone to defend him underneath, which creates opportunities for rebounds and certainly some assists. But who's going to rotate and cover him on the outside? Because guess what? You put a small guy on him, he's going to go right around him.
Yeah, he's physically a freak, right? He's 7 feet tall. He's a lot stronger than people think because he doesn't have like a Karl Malone type body, but he's kind of thick through the middle, the hips, the legs. So he's a powerful guy, and then he just kind of moves at his own pace. No, he's an impossible matchup really for any team. I mean, the Celtics have had success against him because they could rotate Grant Williams, who seems to irritate him. Rob Williams a little bit, Al Horford a little bit. So that's why I thought the Celtics, if they had gotten to the finals, would have had a real opportunity to beat Denver. Denver's a sizable favorite in this NBA Finals. And the thing is, Miami's a small team. I mean, they take Adebayo out. Kevin Love isn't really a low post player either. He's shooting threes. Cody Zeller, looks older than I do. So, they don't really have much size up there, but
he kind of looks like Blank Man. Remember Blank Man?
Yeah.
Just without the cape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't have a cape, that's for sure. But this is a very, very difficult matchup. for anyone because Denver's been the best team in this postseason. They're 12-3. They haven't really even broken a sweat. I mean, I know Phoenix even that series up at 2 games apiece, but Denver was always in control. Denver never loses at home. They have 10 days to get ready for this. They're rested. They're healthy. The common sense pick is Denver in 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's what everyone would pick. And also when you factor in that the last 6 teams that eliminated the Celtics from the postseason went on and lost their next series. Now, that doesn't include the Warriors last year because that was in the finals. So maybe after you beat the Celtics, you go on and think you did something and you lose the next series. There's a reason Denver is one of the biggest favorites we've seen in the finals in many years because everything just looks like it's going to come up Nuggets in this finals. But you do have that coach in Eric Spoelstra and his coaching staff, who I'm sure is going to come up with some different ideas to combat Jokic, but that may be an impossibility because the guy is that good.
Well, and that's the thing. Ultimately, it comes down to the players on the court and can you execute? This goes back to the Celtics. Like, you can have the best plan in the world, but if you're not executing it, it means squat. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it may seem like I'm piling on Jimmy Butler, but the problem is, he's their best player and he hasn't been. And not just like, I don't really think he's been that good since the first couple of games of the Celtics series. And I think that's going to be a big issue in this one because Miami, I mean, it's great that they're getting, Caleb Martin shot 60% from the field and was a 45% 3-point shooter that entire set. He made more free 3-point shots than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum combined in that series. Combined, John.
Man. Crazy.
That's absurd. Like, that's why the Celtics lost the series. They lost the 3-point. I mean, there's obviously a lot of other little factors as to why, obviously. But the biggest thing is it wasn't Jimmy Butler. It wasn't Bam Adebayo. It was Caleb friggin' Martin and 45% from 3. And then again, when he'd go out, you'd have Duncan Robinson, who, nothing irked me more than the half-assed Hulk Hogan ear shot. It's like, dude, haven't you been riding the bench for most of the season? Like, relax, buddy. All right, we get it. You're going to the finals. Good for you. But I'm sitting here thinking okay, great. Like, in this NBA Finals series, Miami needs Jimmy Butler to be that what's becoming or seems like becoming more rare than a unicorn, that playoff Jimmy. Like, where's playoff Jimmy, John? Where's playoff Jimmy that actually takes over a game and again makes a huge impact? And like I said, and this is what kills you about the Celtics series is because he didn't do it for the majority of the second half of that series, and the Celtics still lost. And you're sitting there saying, how do you lose to a team where their best player wasn't even close to being their best player?
Yeah, no, it's still mystifying how the Celtics weren't able to at least show up in Game 7. I mean, they just got up 9-4, and then from that point forward, they just couldn't do anything on either end of the floor. I mean, it was a complete meltdown by the Celtics in Game 7, and you had some opportunities, and you just didn't take advantage of them. And, the thing about Butler, I think at this point, he's probably gassed a little bit. He's 33. He does play both ends of the floor. He's a good defender, so, maybe he spent a little bit, and Denver's able to have 9-10 days to get ready for this thing. And now you're flying into Denver. You got to deal with the altitude, for games 1 and game 2. So yeah, it's going to be a tough nut to crack for the Heat. But look, if they pull this thing off, it'd be an incredibly impressive performance.
Oh, sure.
They would have beaten the top 2 teams in the NBA record-wise in Milwaukee and the Celtics, and then the best team in the West, Denver, which had the 4th best record. I mean, I don't know what would be more impressive, the Heat winning the NBA Finals or the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup, because their road was even tougher, right? Because if they win
very similar,
very similar. Because I think
top 2, well,
obviously the
Bruins,
top 2 teams, top 3 teams in 3 of the top 4 teams in the East, and then the 5th best record, and they would have beaten the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th best records in hockey.
And obviously
crazy.
the Golden Knights are have the best record in the West. So
both of these teams, I mean, as 8 seeds.
See, this is what happens when Tom Brady lives in Miami, man.
Absolutely.
It's all Tom Brady.
He's causing Shannon Sharp to leads
Oh,
Fox Sports 1. I mean, so he's got
no,
his hands in everything. Is
my,
he Forrest Gump, really? Tom
my
Brady's like involved in everything.
my favorite thing over the last 12 to 24 hours since we learned that Shannon Sharp is leaving is the revisionist history of Shannon Sharp on that show, and how he's now being portrayed as some sort of calm when again he and Skip are the same exact thing. I mean, I'm not defending Skip Bayless. I'm not defending Shannon Sharp. I'm saying, for anyone out there saying, "Oh my God, thank God Shannon's leaving Skip," well, okay, great. That'd be cool if that was that. It's like, okay, maybe Skip's happy that Shannon's leaving, because guess what? You hate him or you love him or whatever. Skip Bayless is Skip Bayless, and he's very much helped shape the way this whole sports world is covered on TV, especially. So you can love or hate him. Like, I saw someone tweet out today, again, pretending like Shannon Sharp was being held back. No, the guy's just as disrespectful, just as outrageous as Skip. They just play the same role, just different sides, and it's silly to pretend otherwise, because it's like, wasn't it just the other day that Shannon Sharp was up there calling Kwame Brown a bust, this, that, and the other, and it's like, people are all like, oh, how could Shannon take all the disrespect? Well, he dishes it out just as much. Like,
sure, yeah. Oh,
so,
no. If you put yourself in that position, you have to be ready for the arrows to come back your way. But to your point, as far as Tom Brady, yeah, I mean, he now is living in Miami. They're the Heat and the Panthers in their final round, and just wait for the Marlins and Dolphins to contend for championships going forward. Yeah, it's kind of crazy what the butterfly effect is with Tom Brady. But yeah, just as far as the Heat and Nuggets, look, there's a reason Denver's 4-1 to win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you put up 100 to make 300 on Miami, which is actually less value than when they played the Celtics. So they'd be coming through a very, very tough road to win this championship. And I mean, no logical sense to pick them, right? I mean, because there was no logical sense to pick them against the Celtics or Milwaukee, and they beat both of those teams.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, sometimes sometimes there's just these special runs, and it is downpouring outside, and I have a feeling you might be able to hear it through my microphone, because I'm hearing it through my microphone.
Yeah,
it is. It is torrential downpours. It's actually it's kind of refreshing every so often, but it does get loud and it can get a little wild. So I'm guessing you're taking Nuggets in 5 then. Is that your pick? Or
I'm gonna say 6, because Miami's still so well coached and tough, and I don't think they'll give in. They just don't do that. I mean, even when they faced the Lakers in the bubble 3 years ago, they took them to 6. I just don't see them laying down. So you know what it is, Ian? It seems like every series in the NBA are picking 6. Maybe I'm just too chicken to say 5, and I don't want to go 7. So yeah, let's go Nuggets in 6.
Well, look, I was gonna give the same pick, so we're right in the same boat when it comes to that. So we both got the Nuggets in 6, and we're gonna see how that plays out. Real quick before we go, and I think this noise in the background is driving me nuts, and I imagine it's driving other people nuts as well.
You're like Testikov, right?
Yeah. What is that beeping? That beeping.
What is that noise?
Anyways, Aaron Rodgers, real quick, missing another day of OTAs with a calf injury. Are you concerned, John? Because look, this isn't a guy who's, I mean, he's been healthy for much of his career, but not like a pristine health record. This is obviously, maybe not a big concern, but if you're a Jets fan, if you're Jets management, you're still holding your breath, because essentially your entire season this year hinges on the health of a 39, soon to be 40-year-old quarterback who may or may not have taken a little bit of a step back ability-wise. So what's your concern level, John?
Well, I mean, he had the calf injury back in 2014 at the end of that season. I don't know if it's the same calf, if it's a reoccurrence from 9 years ago. I mean, obviously he's approaching 40. He turns 40 in December. I mean, the 2 times he missed time were broken collarbones, which I think you're going to miss some time with broken collarbones, especially one on your throwing side. And he came back early from both of those. I know he was banged up last year with the broken thumb and whatever the rib injuries were. I think he's a pretty durable, tough guy. I mean, as much as he turns people off. I wouldn't be too concerned with this stuff. I don't know. Is it a situation where he's, doing different conditioning drills that may have taxed the calf? You're not hydrated properly. Who knows?
Last year he wasn't even at OTAs, John. So this is a whole new thing for him.
His body's like, what are you doing playing football at the end of May?
We're supposed to be doing ayahuasca and
right.
hibernating in a hole somewhere right now.
Or maybe he just got there and says, I really don't feel like doing this today.
Look, I showed up. All right. It's like, it's like when it's like when you check in and just sign in and leave. It's like, all right, I showed up for one day. Right. My face is present, but like, I'm not going to actually participate in these full practices. That's beneath me.
It is, without question.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too concerned with this stuff. Like I said, he's been a fairly durable guy other than the broken collarbones. Mm-hmm. And I think he's into it this year because he does get motivated by what he perceives as slight, and he certainly perceived Green Bay, how they handle this, as a slight, a major slight, and I think he's motivated to do well and see if he can make the Jets a contending team, which would be a nice feather in his cap. I mean, Jets haven't been in the playoffs for 12 years. If he gets them in there and wins a game or two, that's a successful season for the Jets.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, trust me, that's a banner raising season for the Jets. Are you kidding me? Just a couple of victories here and there in the postseason. But yeah, look, I'm with you. I mean, obviously, if he starts missing more significant time during training camp, that's when I think they're concerned. Right now, it's OTAs, and I'm not like, even though I kind of joked about him not showing up at OTAs last year, I don't think it was. I think OTAs just get incredibly overblown one way or the other. Are they important? Sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, any sort of team building activity, I think, is important, and especially if you're new to the team. I think you take advantage of every opportunity that you have, but it's not the most ridiculous thing. As per the example of the Patriots losing 2 OTA days because they spent 15 minutes going over something completely non-related to physical act. You know what I mean? Like, clearly the NFL doesn't necessarily value it that high if they're willing to take away 2 practices for something so silly that was self-reported. You know what I mean, John? So mm-hmm. I think, missing OTAs or attending OTAs is great off-season fodder, especially for these quarterbacks and especially for these older guys who, well, I think have more of a choice, I guess, because if you're Tom Brady entering 2017 with the Patriots, if you miss an OTA practice here and there, it's not that big of a deal, John. But obviously you want to see, if you have an abundance of new players or there's a new coach or new this or new that, yeah, maybe you spend a couple extra days in those early practice days. But at the end of the day, John, it's really not like a big deal. Like, it's just, it's great lightning rod for a discussion. Like, if Aaron Rodgers shows up to OTAs, and look, Packers fans are, not all of them, but some Packers fans, they're, why is he showing up for the Jets and not the Packers? And guess what? The media eats that up. It's like, is Aaron Rodgers committed? Is he not committed? Is he this? Is he that? And you know what? It's OTAs. Who the hell cares?
Yeah, I think it's important to go when you're on a new team, but it's kind of like orientation for high school or college. Like, you go, you find out where the cafeteria is, you find out where the library is, you get your schedule. Okay, I've got to go from this room to that room, and I've got 4 minutes to do it. It's orientation, just kind of like a meet and greet, and then you come into training camp, in about 6 weeks, and that's when you go full bore. Yeah,
I was I was very ill prepared for my college orientation. I showed up without a blanket, a pillow, anything. And it was during this heat wave in the middle of the summer, and I didn't have a fan. It was awful. That was a long time ago, though, John.
You also went to a gigantic school too, though. I mean, what was your freshman class? I mean, it was.
Oh God, I don't even know. I can't even count that high. You kidding me?
I mean, I'm guessing 12 to 15,000,
maybe even more.
The freshman class.
Well, look, my high school class was 3,000 people, over 3,000 people. So.
Your high school class, your graduating class senior year?
Well, I don't know how many of those people graduated, but look,
holy cow.
Framingham's a very, very big high school. It was a very, very big high school, and this was long past North and South. For ththose who are familiar, and most of you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, unless you happen to have lived in that area. But it was a huge high school. Miserable experience sitting through my graduation and listening to Wow, 14 people. Wow. Kyle says his graduating class was 14 people. That's incredible. that's
Well, how's
actually,
their reunion at this point? I mean, how many people show up for that thing?
well, yeah, that's true. I mean, you could go to like go to a hockey game as a group for your class reunion. You know, that'd be pretty easy to organize, really. Group
you go
ticket
for
sales.
breakfast and take
Yeah.
up one table. Yeah, it's not a big
Seriously.
deal.
Speaking of reunions, I think I have. Well, actually, yes, I do. My 20-year one would be coming up next year. At this time next year. So.
Go.
No, I will. Oh, you kidding me? Of course I'm gonna go. Of course I'm gonna go. I gotta show off all the things I've done.
You going in a Brady jersey?
Oh, maybe we'll see. We'll see.
A Vegas Brady jersey.
Yeah, because we know he's gonna suit up for the Raiders at some point this season. I hope so, and that'd be great. Like I want that. I want that situation. I don't know why. I'm just looking. Oh yeah, just watch Iverson walk over Ty Lue in the NBA Finals. They're showing that clip for some reason on TV. Mm-hmm. So I always like that one. But yeah, I don't even know how we got on to reunions and class sizes and everything like that. Oh yeah, orientation, right?
Orientation.
Yeah, look, yep. Is it important for Aaron Rodgers to be there? I think more so this year than any of the certainly previous years in Green Bay. But at the end of the day, like I'll be more worried if he starts missing actual training camp, because that to me is a little bit more important. Yeah, I like Kyle says if Brady played for the Raiders, I wonder if he fumbles the ball and the Raiders get screwed twice on the tuck rule, because now, as we know, the tuck rule does not exist. It was abolished in 2011. It wasn't abolished the day after that game in 2001, like some people want to believe. It was actually still around for another 10 years, but that would be some sort of weird irony and quite a full circle event if that were to happen. Like if they lost a playoff game to the Patriots because of that. Because of a Brady fumble that actually stayed a Brady fumble. That'd be something. That'd be something. But
like a secret agent for the Patriots playing for the Raiders.
Pretty much. He's in cahoots. No, I think look, this whole situation again, I don't. First of all, people say, "Oh, you'd get approval from the owners." Like, I don't think it would really be a big deal. What would be the issue if he were a part owner who would want to play?
Does it have to be unanimous? I mean, I've heard that it has to be unanimous that he vests himself or can play. Like, well, if you're the LA Chargers, I vote no because you're in the division with the guy and you have to face him twice a year. But yeah, I think the league would love that, wouldn't they?
Oh, sure.
Brady in Vegas, man, that would be awesome.
Brady in Vegas doing the Michael Jordan thing, part owner, player. Yeah,
two times against Patrick Mahomes a year, two times against Justin Herbert twice a year. I know they're playing the Patriots this year. They're playing the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. Like, oh God, yeah. Sign us up for that.
Yeah, exactly. I want it to happen. I'm gonna keep DMing Tom until he blocks me, and reminding him that he still has a chance to come back and play. And Jimmy G you can't count on Jimmy G if you're the Raiders. If you're the Raiders, you get Mr. Part Owner Tom Brady down there and get him involved. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, John. We'll maybe I can sabotage Jimmy G's comeback and really push that forward. We'll see. So
he's a paisan. Don't do that to my man.
You know what? I'm sorry. When it comes to that or maybe pushing forward the idea that Tom Brady plays again, I think I'll be all right. I think I'll live with upsetting paisans across the country, or at least the Jimmy G ones.
He's made a lot of money, and that's a dangerous city for him, isn't it? Vegas for Jimmy G.
I think 2 days after he signed, he was offered free service at some of the local establishments in and around Clark County, Nevada. So you can figure that all out on your own. But it'd be a dangerous place to go for anyone, especially who has a lot of money and classic good looks, as they say. So, all right. That's going to do it for us here today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to talk more hockey because the Stanley Cup final starts on Saturday. So we're going to talk to our guy, Jim, and then, react to game one and see what we see tonight. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you tomorrow.